Here on the Echo Ratings Eventing podcast, we have teamed up with our great friends at Bedmax, along with our very own Spike the Vet, to give you guys, our lovely listeners, some tip-top tips on how to keep your horses happy and healthy in a stable environment. So, Spike, what have you got for us to get us started?
Well, here we are. Tip-top tips. And it's so important to reduce our risk of respiratory disease. Using a bedding with the lowest possible dust rating, such as Bedmax, is the absolute cornerstone to ensure a happy and healthy respiratory environment for a horse. Along with that, a really well-ventilated, stable environment so that we can maximize that clean air for the horse in the area where it's breathing as well. So in the corners, and it is criminal how many stables I go to, and these would be in very professional yards where we still see cobwebs, dust, all kinds of things in those corners around water drinkers, around feeding bowls, feeding troughs, hay bars, all these sort of things. And it's so important that we make sure that that's a better environment for them.
So not only a good quality bedding, but also you've got to whip out your feather duster or your Henry Hoover and make sure you get in all the nooks and crannies.
Or you got to get your feather duster out. Otherwise, I'll get my white gloves and I'll be checking out for how much dust there is. But seriously, it's very important. And it is unbelievable how often it's overlooked.
There you go, listeners. A tip-top tip for you from our very own Spike the Vet, courtesy of our lovely friends at Bedmax.
Thank you, Nicole. And look forward to coming back with some more tip-top tips.
Welcome to the Echo Ratings Eventing podcast and a When Nicole Met show, very kindly supported by Bedmax. Now, listeners, we've got something a little bit different for you on the show because we've got not one, but two guests. They are both Pony European gold medalists, brother and sister duo, which I am fascinated to find out the dynamic there. Finn and Ellie Healy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
It is our absolute pleasure. I'm sure our listeners will have been familiar with both of your names and possibly parts of your story as you've come up through the levels. But we wanted to dig a little bit deeper. So, first of all, take us back to the beginning. Ellie, you were, I guess, first on the scene, older sibling right now. We're going to take that credit. But when did your love of horses begin? Was it very, very small?
Yes, I was very, very little. Mum has always ridden and was eventing and was probably at her prime of eventing level when I was probably about 5 or 6. And so me and Finn were only 2.5 years apart. And Mum always laughs and says she had a rocking horse that she put in the middle of the arena and gave me a riding hat, and I'd sit there and just rock away so that she could ride around me. And Dad would come home from work and just pick me off because I'd fallen asleep and take me inside. So always been around the horses, and got my first pony for Christmas just before I turned 3. She was called Maisie and was an amazing first pony. We live on a very busy main road, and we just hack up and down there with Mum. And then when Finn came along, he was very keen to take over the reins, so I quickly got booted off Maisie and moved on, and then Finn took over. And she's probably the only pony we've ever really shared. We're very different in the types of horses and ponies we like. And yeah, so I think it shows because she didn't like jumping, and I was quite happy with that. But Finn turned her into a jumping pony. And but yeah, horses have always been around.
I love that, honestly. Talk about future childcare idea. Rocking horse, middle of the arena, listeners. If I could do that with mine, I'd be delighted, but I'd probably find him breaking into a tractor and driving off somewhere. Finn, coming sort of into such a horsey family, was it always something that you absolutely loved, or was it a case of can't beat them, join them?
Well, I was always like wanting to ride, and I always have ridden. Dad was determined to make me do anything else other than ride. So I played tennis, rugby, football, cricket. I've done them all through school. And so, yeah, I've never really, I've played everything, but riding was always what I wanted to do. And yeah, so, and then I got Daisy for my 6th birthday because teaching Maisie to jump wasn't easy. She was a lead rein pony, really. And so for my 6th birthday, I got Daisy, who was 5. And she certainly taught me a few lessons. She taught me a good seat most of all, because she was quite naughty, but she was very talented, and yeah, she was an amazing pony that really got me the bug of competing and then eventing.
I feel like there's a theme that might come in here, and Finn, you're sort of the wanting to go jumping and as quickly as possible straight off the bat. They're both nodding, listeners. I feel like this was definitely a thing. In terms of the competition side of things, when did that come into it? Because Finn, if you played a lot of sports through school, a lot of competition in life, did the competing on the ponies seem to come quite naturally?
I think Mum's always been really brilliant with us. She's never pressured us into anything, and it was always up to us. She always said when it was Maisie in the field with no shoes on, that if we wanted to ride, that was fine, no problem. But she said as soon as we got our next two ponies, which Finn had Daisy and I had a 13-hander called Eddie, she said, if you want the ponies in and shod and clipped, then she was like, it's your job. You go out before school and you muck out and you ride every day after school. And if you want to do that, then I will put everything into it and do everything I can to help you. And so from being probably 6 and 8, we'd get picked up from school in the lorry and go Friday night show jumping at Fieldhouse to try and get our qualifications to go to Trailblazers. And we'd have egg and chips in the cafe at 10 o'clock at night after jumping the 60 centimetres. And yeah, we just thought it was the best thing ever. Through Pony Club, we met some amazing friends that would join us, and at Trailblazers we just had the best time, really. We'd whiz around on our bikes and soon realised that we needed to get much better at jump off turns after the first year, when we came away with, I don't think we got a single rosette.
We didn't win anything in the first year.
So we spent our winters training for that and did all Pony Club teams, like area show jumping, eventing, dressage, anything really. We just loved going out with the ponies, and yeah, I think probably got the bug for it through that, just being exposed like that.
I won't lie, Friday night, egg and chips, Trailblazer show jumping sounds like the dream. Plenty of listeners will be listening to this thing. That sounds a great time. In terms of sort of stepping up the levels and kind of making the jump into eventing, obviously your mum did have experience in the sport, but you both have had massive success in pony teams, which we're going to talk about in a second. How was your first experience of sort of affiliated eventing? What are your first memories of it?
We used to go and groom for Mum. We'd both go, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And go and watch. And then as soon as I didn't have my pony was only 13 hands at the time, so I couldn't go eventing BE. So we'd go and do Pony Club one day events, and my dressage was always horrific. I'd be like well up there in the 40s and Finn would be in the 20s, but then I'd get around the cross country and Finn would end up in a ditch. So it definitely, we always loved the eventing, like the days out, and got used to going there with Mum. And so we were both wanted to event as soon as we could be, and that's why we needed the 14 to go and do that.
So Midnight Dancer, who was the pony on whom you both, Finn, you took the individual title back in 2018, was it?
No, Ellie was 2018. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're both so young. How have you achieved so much? So you were 2019. Ellie, you took a team gold in 2018. Take us back to your first Midnight Dancer meeting. Where did he come from? How did you find him?
He came from Ireland, from Marty Rudd, over at Monbeg. Her brother-in-laws had racehorses and Connemara ponies, and we were over there looking at horses for Mum and asked. We'd done a few ponies. We'd had a few in, and if they weren't quite what we needed, we'd sold them to nice homes. Because we used to sit like on the way to school, and didn't we?
We just watch European videos of
like we'd be desperate to just do. We were like, Dad, we need an FEI pony, and he's like, what is one of those? And well, the only way you're having one of them is you're going to have to make it yourself. So we went to Ireland and came home with Casper, who was called number 1 at the time. He was 4 years old and just broken. So Mum sat on him and just trotted him around a bit, and that was about all he could do. I think he jumped one fence and absolutely wiped out at the knees, and came around the next time, and mum was like, we'll just see what he does. And he just like jumped it massive, never missed a beat. And he was very cheap. And so we thought we'll bring him home and see what we can make of him. Ultimately, he was bought for Finn, really, thinking that mum would produce him because he was so green. He like took his tail under and shoot off. And yeah, so we thought...
As Ellie's name at the time was Nervous Nerish, so there was never a prayer.
Yeah, no, I didn't fancy getting on him then. But as soon as we got him home, I don't know, I just hacked him out. I was like, please, can I hack him out? And mum was like, oh, really? 'Cause I was only 12 and he was 4. And from then on, I turned to mum and I said, he's going to be mine. And we never really looked back. I went to Pony Club camp on him 10 days later, and did everything at camp. And he was just the most amazing pony. I was quite naive at the time, and I was, as Finn said, my nickname was Nervous Neris. Anything that went wrong, I'd be like, oh God, I had no self-belief. Together we kind of just did everything and just kept progressing together. Our show jumping was always the weakest part because he was so brave, and I used to just kick and hang on and hope for the best. And it was just the trust and partnership really that got us where we did. And I always kind of thought, I'm never going to quite hit the big time with him. I think Finn will get that out of him. And so I was just so grateful that I did get to go to Europeans on him. It was kind of just a fairy tale ending from it all.
Was it always the plan then that you were going to keep him for a year or so until you went out to ponies, and then Finn was going to have the ride again? Finn, I can't imagine you were too impressed seeing your pony trot off to Pony Club camp with somebody else. Or was that actually...
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to originally ride him because I was only probably about 9 or 10 at the time, and mum was going to produce him and see
okay.
And then obviously Ellie took him over, and that was fine. And I had Daisy still at the time, and a little jumping pony called Theo, and
Jack.
Yeah, not yet. I got Jack when I was 12, and I was happy for Ellie to take over, and then I didn't get the ride back till 4 years later, and but it was worth the wait.
You got a pretty good pony back at the end of it. He was in pretty good form by then. So the first kind of taste you guys had of Pony Europeans, etc., was watching those videos on YouTube. How did your first step into international competition go, Ellie, and sort of that step into the pony world that you'd been watching for so long?
I started with under 18s. When he was 6, I was selected for the East Midlands under 1800 team. I think he was the youngest pony there, and yeah, that was good. And then I'd always had a dream of going novice, but I was just so nervous. And I think Finn remembers me being pretty foul the day of my first novice. Where were we? Bald Heath. And yeah, I was very, very nervous. And he kind of skipped round it and made it feel like a 90. And I think it was only at that point we realised, okay, he's quite special, and it's not a million miles away to think he might do some pony trials. He bumped his stifle at that event, and which meant he was out for a few months that winter. So then I'd thought, I'm not going to make it to Osby Pony Trial in March. So I went and did the 100 there, but then stepped up to novice at Lincoln the week after, and he jumped double clear, which meant I got my qualification for Withington. That was the first big trial back then of the year. That was the Pony 2-star. So I went there, and he was so hot in the dressage, and I had 3 down show jumping. And I said to mum, going cross country, I was like, I'm going to get to the big table that everyone had a picture over. I was like, and if I jump that, then I'm going to put my hand up and I'm retiring because it's too big and it's too scary. But once I set out the start box, he was just amazing. And he just jumped everything you pointed at. Just wanted to get from A to B, and yeah, had the most amazing ride. And from there, I went to my first Brand Hall British Pony Championships, and it's just amazing, that met all my best friends through that pony time. And it was just nice to have that first year as just going and seeing some competitions and like events, because I knew I'd got my second year. And we've always been taught by mum, like, you're better having more confidence, doing some more runs at a level you're happy with, than having them rushing and ending up having to go back to square one again. So we always take things quite steady. But yeah, I managed to do everything I needed to do, and spent my whole winter show jumping trying to improve that, because that was the part that kept letting me down. And then 2018, when it was the wettest year, I think apart from this year, but Withington was cancelled, a lot of the trials were cancelled, and I remember going to Stratford, it wasn't, it was Tweedledum, and they'd put on a training day with Jonquil, and I'd spent all winter show jumping, felt so happy with it, and then went in and had 3 down, and it was like the world had ended. And Mum was like, Ellie, you don't have to do this. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. She was like, if it's causing you this much, that is meant to be fun and you're meant to be enjoying it. And I think from that point on, I just took all the pressure off myself. I just got it in my head that Finn was going to get to go and I wasn't, and took all the pressure off. And from there, it just kind of went really well at every event afterwards. And I managed to get longlisted and was put as a reserve. And I think for the first time in 13 years, a reserve got to go to Europeans, and it was me. And as things turned out, I ended up on the team when I was there as Pathfinder. And it was just the best opportunity ever.
Talk to me about Bishop Burton, because not only did you go to Europeans, but it's a home Europeans. And that just feels that extra bit special, doesn't it? Because there's so much to be said for a home crowd. Lots more people get the opportunity to come and watch. What was that week like?
It was so cool. I remember going to final training, and I was still reserve at this point, and I was watching all the girls that were on the team. They'd got like all the nails like prepared and the bracelets, and everything was just ready to go. And I was like, oh, I so want to go. And so when I got that call up, I was just so excited. And we took the ponies to Derby College and loaded them all up onto the Parker's lorry so that they arrived together at Bishop Burton, even though they were only going 2 hours up the road. So that was just nice. And we got taken off as the riders, did some flower arranging, I think it was, and got to go and see some of the animals at Derby College before we all drove up with Jonquil and the selectors, and met our parents had driven the lorries up so that they had somewhere to stay. And we all were living in a cottage just down the road, which was just like so nice for the team spirit, all together every night. And the week was brilliant. It was great after dressage. I got the best score I think I got internationally. I think he got a 28. And the course looked really good. It was big, but cross country was always our strongest point. Unfortunately, on cross country day, I was first out, and we thought the time was going to be really tight. And so I took a bit of a inside line to one of the fences and ended up having a run out, which it was probably our second ever cross country jumping penalty together. And then the other 5 members of the team all went clear. So that Saturday night was quite hard because everyone else was absolutely elated, and I was a bit just down a bit. Think I'd let everyone down. And then I think show jumping had a couple of rails, but to be honest, I was just so happy to be there and be part of the team, and just the whole experience, like the vets, the physios, all the parents. It's just so brilliant from day one to the day you leave, and just feels like nothing else that you can. It's just such a different experience.
And actually, it's always tough, isn't it, sometimes going out as Pathfinder when something doesn't go to plan, because there is that additional pressure, but also the information you bring back, even when it doesn't go to plan, is just as valuable for the rest of the team. Finn, what was it like watching at that point? Did you just get the kind of the bug as to, God, I really, really, really want to do this now?
Well, I already had the bug, and then when I went and watched, it was like everything I wanted to do. And so I then took over the ride from Ellie on Casper after the Europeans. He had a couple of weeks break, and then I took over, and I'm very much a competitor. I'm very competitive. And so when I got on to Casper, I was like, wow,
my sister's done it. So
so fine. And in truth, he absolutely hated me for the first Lincoln pony trial. And because he'd only ever really been ridden by Mum and Ellie. And so anyway, I then got Jonquil actually spoke to me at the start of the year at a pony training where I was putting too much pressure on myself with him to try and make it all perfect. And she went, just go out and use this year as a prep year and just enjoy it and just go and enjoy doing the pony trials. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Even though Mum had been telling me that for ages, it stuck a bit more with Jonquil. And so anyway, I just went out and enjoyed it. And I mean, he's at Lincoln Pony Trial, he was still really nervous of me. I set out the start box that fast, my hat sort of blew off. And and it was all in a straight line. But anyway, over a bit of time, he trusted me a bit more. And yeah, he went double clear at every pony trial. And it was amazing. And then to go to the Europeans was just amazing.
How was it, Ellie, watching Finn take on the ride?
To be honest, I absolutely loved it. I loved that pony so much. I think because I'd done it the whole way through and knew him inside out and upside down, and then we've always got on so well, and just to see like the success, thinking like, oh, it's just, he deserved it. And I knew he had it in him, and Finn's always been a much better show jump jockey than me. He's very cool, and Casper really benefited from that. And so, yeah, it was amazing. And all the family came out to Poland. So we had a lovely week in Stragom. We discovered the Polish food wasn't great, and we'd go to McDonald's every morning and get breakfast.
I wasn't allowed to do that. I had to eat the Polish food. I got caught out in McDonald's once, and so we didn't do that again. But yeah, it was, to be fair, I didn't have any expectation of winning. It was just amazing to be there. I thought this year was the prep year and hopefully have more of a crack the year after, which thank God it did go so well, because the year after was COVID. And it was, Mum actually said to me, like, she looked at all the ponies and you wouldn't have swapped him for anyone. And that gave me like a lot of confidence, because he was just amazing. And then what turned out like to be was just amazing. Even the night after cross country and the night before show jumping, I was just thinking, wow, it'd be amazing to get on the podium, as I was in sick. And I never ever thought I'd climb to first. It was surreal. It was
amazing watching it. Me and Dad were sat like counting down, like we're thinking, oh, he's just jumped clear, so now he's in sixth, and then he was in fifth, and then we're like, oh God, he's got bronze now. And we knew that there was a German pony that wasn't on the team, but it had jumped, like, had done an amazing test and was clear cross country. So we were like, can't be a great show jumper, or it'd be on the team. So, and then he moved to second, and then unfortunately Daisy Bathe, who was in the lead, she on SF Detroit, that didn't go to plan show jumping. And so yeah, it was a bit surreal, really. But no, it was an amazing day.
It's a really, really cool experience, I guess. Even passing the ride over to Finn, you know, lots of people have to say goodbye to that pony, don't they? And actually, he was outside in the yard every day, sort of business as usual. Finn, not only was it individual gold, it was team gold as well. What did that mean? Because you've dreamt of this moment for so long. Can you put it into words, into actually what it meant to you?
No, not really. It was, I didn't come back down to earth for a good few days, really. It was just amazing. And the team, we won by quite a long way in the end. Like everyone did so well. I think all in the top 10, and it was, yeah, just amazing. I remember cantering around on the lap of honour, just thinking this surely isn't real. And it was the shock of it and not expecting it made it so much better, I think, really. And yeah, I couldn't really put it into words. It was definitely the best day of my life, and still probably is now, yeah.
And so from kind of the highs of 2019, you had another year in ponies, only for the pesky old COVID to come along, which sort of scuppered lots of plans, and it meant that you didn't sort of get your second shot at ponies. How tough was it the day that this pony that had been such a massive part of both of your childhoods actually that he went on to a new home?
It was very tough, obviously. However, we found him the most amazing home. The Cook family who still have him now, just so lovely, and we got on really well with him, and that made it so much easier.
It wasn't easy to ride. Like, everyone, I think, thinks that he was just so easy and was like a machine, but he was so sensitive, and from day one he was. And so getting someone that could ride him sensitively enough but was like good enough was really hard. So when they came along, it just felt right, and we dropped him off. Me and Mum went down and took him on Christmas Eve, because he was a Christmas present for Charlotte, who didn't know that she was getting him. There was plenty of tears when we dropped him off, but on Christmas Day, I think that video, seeing her find him in the stable, was better than any presents we got that year. It was just amazing to think that he could go and do what he's done for Finn and I, for someone else, because he wouldn't have wanted to do nothing. He absolutely loved going out and eventing. It was just, he was like an F1 car, and that was his job. It was sad, but it was definitely the right decision.
And it's lovely, actually, still to be able to see him out and about. I know Charlotte's had a massive amount of success with him as well. What next? Because Ellie, you are currently juggling your horses at university. How does that work?
It's fun. Definitely keeps me busy. I just always knew that I absolutely love the horses and the riding, and I would never want it to become a chore and job. I enjoy it too much and want to just enjoy my horses and keep it fun. So I always knew I needed some other form of income rather than just horses, and thought that veterinary physio, so I could do the horses, a few bit of like equine physio alongside riding, and maybe don't have such a big string, still have a good amount of horses to try and achieve the top level, but do it on a bit more small scale with another form of income. So I decided to go to uni after a gap year through COVID, and I went to Nottingham, and so I'm currently just about to finish my second year there, and doing human physio before I then I see where it takes me, but I think I definitely want to go and do my master's in veterinary physio, to just give me that freedom really to work doing what I like doing, but still be able to do all the horses. I try and come back, like I tend to drive back on a Wednesday, ride Wednesday, stay at home, ride Thursday, then go back to uni, and then come back on a weekend to compete, or something along those lines. We managed to make it work. I'm very lucky that Mum can keep riding them if I can't get back. And obviously Finn's here. I just try. I kind of got up, come home, ridden to, and be back before some of my friends are even out of bed at uni. So I think just time management, and I want to do both. And so I think if you want something, then it's much easier to make it happen. And I think by me being able to do it, it's actually made Finn want to go. He was always, only thing he wanted to do was ride horses. But I think he's actually realised that there is the opportunity to do both, because our parents are so supportive and want us to have every opportunity. And so, I think it's good that you're going to go.
Yeah, I was never thinking of going really, and just wanted to set up a yard and do all that. But I think seeing Ellie do it has made me realise that, one, it'd be good to have a backup plan and something behind you. And I'm still very young, and set up a business now, it's a young age to do that. And so I'm going to go and keep riding, keep all the horses hopefully I've got now, and just do it similar to Ellie, and to and fro, and hopefully it'll make it work. I've got a lot less busy schedule in the course I'm going to do than Ellie does, so hopefully it'll be a bit easier, as I'm not quite as organised as Ellie, so it'll need to be easier.
What are you studying?
History.
Okay, very different.
Yeah, very different. We are very different.
Yeah.
When you say you're so different, do you think actually that is one of the reasons that you get on so well?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think Finn, I don't know, Finn's quite good at winding me up and stressing me out, and I like to be organised and have everything done. I'm his secretary and just do all his entries, registrations, everything. And Finn just rings me at 5 to 12. Have you entered me in this event? I'm like, yes, don't worry, it's all done. But yeah, no, we've always got on well. We do.
Ellie does my entries, and I help do a horse as well. She's at uni, so it works this year, but we'll see what happens next year. But hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully you won't lose your entry secretary.
No, because I won't be going to any events. I'm very. But yeah.
Well, to be fair, you're remembering at 5 to 12. That's better than 5 past 12.
Yeah.
Take me back to kind of the step up then onto horses, because it's always such a big jump, isn't it? Especially having had so much success on ponies. Ellie, how did you find it?
I found it really hard. I think, like we said, the opportunity of going to Europeans was amazing, but for a family like us, it was never really expected at all. And Mum always says, as amazing as it was watching us stood on that podium, she was thinking, where can we go from here? You're at the highest point at the level of the sport you're at that point in time, and realistically the only place we could go was to go back to a 4-year-old again. And so when we saw a horse for lease who had been ridden by a professional up to intermediate, we decided to lease her. I think I had her for 18 months and thought it might just let me try and keep up with the people I've been on a team with who had all had junior horses bought for them. And I thought, okay, I can keep up, I can do this. And it didn't quite go to plan. I lost quite a lot of confidence. It didn't really click with her, and ended up back at Nervous Neris rock bottom and fell off at Askham Bryan and ruined my new pink air jacket. And I was like, I need to just go back to 4-year-old. I'm not enjoying this anymore. And so from there decided that I was going to go and just try and find a horse that just made me smile when I got on. Didn't need to be a flash mover, flash jumper. I just wanted one that was a nice person that I could enjoy going eventing with and building a bond with. And it took ages and ages to find one. And when we found one, we found two on the same day at different yards in Ireland. And they're a bit like chalk and cheese in some ways. Wilson, who's class move, he is a rule follower, as Finn says, just like me. He's just been amazing for my confidence. Just such an amazing little horse and tries so hard. Whereas Fred, that's balloted just for kicks, has definitely taught me to ride. He keeps me on my toes, but ultimately wants to reward you for good riding. So yeah, I think they've worked really well together and have built my confidence back up to where I was after having Casper.
It's a really interesting one because I'm sure there's plenty of people listening to this that can really resonate with the sort of crisis of confidence. What would you say to anybody that is currently sitting there thinking, I don't know why I'm doing this, or actually this is really, really hard?
I think just taking the pressure off. I've always found having Finn coming up behind me, I don't think I'd have achieved half of what I have if I wasn't an older sibling with Finn coming behind, because I've never been quite as competitive and all. Like, I'm very competitive, but not in the same way Finn is. And so I think in some ways having Finn has helped me get to where I've got. But then I think that also added quite a lot of pressure. And so just having to learn to take the pressure off and just do it for fun and go out and enjoy your horses at the level that you are at confidently. And people used to laugh at me because I'd be like, just one more 100, just one more 100. I think I ended up doing hundreds on them. But I was terrified of them losing any confidence, because I know that that's where I get my confidence from, believing that I've put everything in stone for them so that if I make a mistake, they will help me out. And so I've never rushed up the levels with them. I've made sure that I'm so solid so that if I do have a blip at a level above, I've only got to drop back down like one level. I think after chats with last year, I had a big confidence crisis again. It's our local event, and I'd done the 2-star and had a bit of a disaster show jumping, and then had a 20 penalties cross country, and ended up with that a bit of a loss of confidence again. Had to withdraw from Houghton that I'd dreamt of going to, and I ended up going to see a hypnotherapy lady who has helped me no end, and just taught me some strategies really to help me believe in myself and my system. And so since I think June last year, I feel like I've just been able to create my own system and stick to a plan that works for me and my horses. And I think I'm finally getting there.
I think that's really interesting, actually. You know, the likes of Pippa Funnell have talked really openly about the use of sports psychology in eventing and kind of tackling nerves and all those sorts of things. And actually, it's something that I think we can all, no matter what level people are competing at, no matter what they're doing, actually, you can apply those sorts of things in order to kind of give yourself a way of giving a plan and kind of a coping mechanism and a way to kind of put it all into place. Finn, how about your jump up to horses? Because you missed your last year in ponies, but along came a mare called Father's Compromise, which is possibly the best name for a horse ever. Tell us a little bit about her.
So Promise is amazing. She's been absolutely amazing. We have such a special relationship, and Michelle approached me in the middle of 2020 as she's done some 90s with her and believed that Promise would go further, and she was a bit nervous to go further on her, and so wondered if I'd ride her. And so I took on the ride. The plan was to try and get to under 18 champs probably in my second year. So I took over the reins and we did some hundreds and started to develop a really good relationship, and she started to turn into a really quite special horse, and just went from there really. Did under 18 champs in the first year, along with the national championships that went very well. There was no Europeans that year. I don't think I'd have quite made it in 2021 as I hadn't done any intermediates, but I then thought it was a good possibility for next year. And so in last year in 2022, we managed to get to the Junior Europeans, which was just amazing. And we won team gold, and I got individual fourth with her. And she is just a very special horse, and we just have the most amazing relationship.
You had a similar sort of climb up in the show jumping as well, didn't you? You finished on your dressage score.
Yeah, so I think I was in sixth again in show jumping, and then moved down to fourth. It was it'd have been nice to get on the podium, but I was just still
Can't
so
be that
happy.
lucky twice.
I got twice. I was so happy to be to have jumped clear and helped the team win gold, as it was really close last year. The Irish were not far behind us, and just another amazing day, and I owe a lot to Promise, and I'm very thankful to Michelle for putting her faith in me with her, as she's also very special to her, and it's been the most amazing journey with her as well.
And actually, you've started 2023 with a bit of a bang, because you've had an international win in the 3-star at Thoresby. And we're just talking actually before Badminton. The show probably won't go out for a couple of weeks, but off the back of a brilliant podium finish at Kelsall Hull at the weekend, both in the 3-star.
Yeah, so last year I got a call from Amy and asked if I'd go up and ride a show jumper for her and the possibility of amble. And so I went up and started working up at Amy's, go up there 3 times a week. And she has put loads of faith in me and really taken me under her wing and allowed me to ride on Amble, who is, amazing. She's everything, I think. I don't really know, but I think you'd want in an event horse. She moves very well, very blood, very brave cross country, and a careful show jumper. And so she's, hopefully got an exciting few years with her, and just see what the future holds for her. And she'll be aimed at Bicton this May, and yeah, we'll see where it takes us. And yeah, again, very thankful to Amy for taking me under her wing.
And that's Amy Hawley, who actually is a former junior team gold medalist herself. Triamble, the horse, the mare that you've taken on, 2 mares at the top level, Finn. Is that something actually you really like, the kind of temperament that they bring to the table, or is it pure coincidence?
Maybe coincidence. I don't know. They're both quite luckily very nice mares with very good temperaments. But yeah, I get on quite well with the mares, it seems. So yeah, they're both very special, and it's, I think, more coincidence rather than
nothing beats a good mare though. What about the kind of being exposed to another yard and another way of doing things, because obviously you've got a way of doing things at home. How has that changed or influenced actually what you're bringing back to your own program now?
Well, it's actually been really, really straightforward, because Mum and Amy seem to share a lot of the same values and how to produce a horse and how the yard runs, and it's a bit weirdly similar in what they like believe in, as they've both got loads of experience. And so it's been really easy in that way. Amy has taught me loads already and has been really helpful, especially on the flat. She's very, very good on the flat, and so has taught me loads. And so yeah, it's been quite smooth. And yeah, all the girls up there, they're great. It's a great team, and yeah, I really enjoy going up there.
And just a word on your mum's influence, because she's kind of been woven in throughout this show, but she is a massive, massive support to you both, and I guess has given you every opportunity to pursue it. But very much it feels like this is your decision, hands-off approach from her and your dad, who I'm sure would still be delighted if you took up another sport. But how has that influenced actually where you've got to now?
Yeah, Mum, she's amazing. She's very knowledgeable and has always been there to just help point us in the right direction. It's always been nice knowing that to just have someone on the ground that you completely trust, and know that everything that she's telling you to do is right, even though it's hard to admit sometimes. And a lot of people come for lessons and they're like, oh, you're so lucky to have your mum. And it's like, yeah, actually, we really are lucky to have Mum, because without her, we wouldn't have achieved half of what we've achieved. She only ever had one horse at a time, and again, would produce it from a very youngster. Her advanced horse she bought as a 4-year-old. And yeah, she went to Buccalow and was on the what was she on?
The 3-star.
The 3-star team. In I think it was about 2008, something like that. And she'd got her badminton qualification, but never quite managed to get there. But I think she still loves doing the young horses. And yeah, really
she'd
enjoys
like a horse of her own, really.
Yeah, she keeps saying she wants a horse of her own, but anytime she gets
the stable's full, is that the problem?
The stables are full, and anytime anything good comes along, then we just
have it.
We nick it.
We try.
The next one is going to be hers.
We do try and leave a spare stable, but it's. Yeah, I think she would like something of her own, ultimately again, but does get a lot of pleasure from helping us. And yeah, as I say, we wouldn't have achieved anything without Mum and Dad. We have to give Dad some credit as well, Dad. Because he's not horsey at all, but he has funded us and allowed us to do what we wanted to do, and he enjoys the big competitions when it gets a bit competitive. And can't understand why sometimes you might not go for the time if you're in the lead, or if something's, I don't know, other things that horsey people would get, and Dad doesn't. But no, he's
still very, very supportive in a different way, and
it allows him to play his golf as much. So it works quite well.
And what next? What is the goal for you? You used to watch the European Pony YouTube videos. What do you watch now?
Badminton.
Yeah, badminton. I don't know. I dreamt of getting my 2. They're only 8, so I knew it was going to be a push to get them to Bicton because it's my final year in Young Riders. But I have managed to get them both qualified for the Young Rider National Championships. So for me, just to get there, I've really achieved my dream. If I can just keep them all sound and good and get there. And I mean, you never want to write off a team, but I think my dressage has got a bit of work to do. And yeah, I think just don't want to push it and just see where it goes, really. I don't know how far my horses will go. They're at 3-star at the moment, at 8. So I don't know, just see where it goes.
Finn was very quick to say badminton then.
Yeah, well, we'll see. One step at a time. And again, I'm aiming for Bicton with Amble. Unfortunately, Promise has had to have this year off. She picked up a small injury before Lincoln. And so, yeah, aiming for Bicton with Amble. And then from there, who knows? It's a very levelling sport. And so anything can happen. And yeah, we'll see. It's a tough sport.
It is a tough sport. You are absolutely right there, but a massive journey to get to this point. And I have to admit, it's been absolutely lovely to get a real insight into the process so far, and lots to look forward to in the future. I've got a couple of really quick questions to fire at you, which I thought would let our listeners get to know you even a little bit better. You've probably given away a few clues throughout the show as well, but we'll throw a few out there. Who would win in a jump off now?
Me.
No, me. Because on Wilson, I would win.
Okay, yeah. Wilson's quite fast, but yeah.
Me.
Who's most likely to forget a dressage test?
Ellie.
Me.
You've forgotten the last 2. So.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that one as well.
I'd say recency bias there. Yeah. Recency bias. Who is best at turning out the horses, as in making them look pretty?
Ellie. I can't plait. So I lose that one.
Who's the better driver?
Me.
I just passed my HGV. You can't argue that.
Yeah, Ellie's got a couple of years' experience on me, but yeah. So I'll say Ellie.
Who is your eventing idol? Last one.
Piggy March for me.
Oliver Townend.
There we go. Listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this show as much as I have. Finn, Ellie, thank you both so much. Very much looking forward to following your progress and wishing you both the very, very best of luck for Bicton.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of When Nicole Met. Don't forget, big thank you to Bedmax, massive supporters of the series. And if you haven't listened to the When Nicole Met Bedmax show, go and give that a go. For now, though, that is all we've got time for. We'll be back very soon with more. Thanks for listening.